Welcome today to our ReSourceYYC podcast, Talk to the Author, a casual chat with a business book author. Today we have a wonderful Calgary author, Catherine Brownlee, and she will be talking with our host, Ron, who is the co-founder of ReSourceYYC. If you're not yet familiar with us, ReSourceYYC is a co-working space in Calgary, and we offer private office spaces, dedicated desks, day drop-ins, and virtual office options. So if you're interested, please check us out. Over to you, Ron.
Thanks, Rosemary. Thanks to all those who are joining us by podcast or live. And again, I'm one of the co-founders here at ReSourceYYC, but purpose of this series is we really are a co-working space for professionals. So we always like to try and do networking events, used to do them live, more podcasts lately, but really to encourage community amongst professionals and in Calgary. So appreciate you joining us today, Catherine. And you've been a big part of actually our whole co-working space. You've been live networking, you've done courses, and we used to see your face live quite a bit since we started. So I appreciate you joining us again for this podcast.
Always happy to support you guys. It's great initiative.
And it is nice that slowly, I think we're going to try and do more live events for sure. September, we're going to actually get back to our old networking events, and we'll invite everyone to start putting stuff in your calendar to come down and check out our space live. And that's always the best, to network face to face. So, and maybe a bit before we start. So you are the co-author of 3 different books, Catherine, but you also are a big presence in Calgary. You've been part of a lot. Any good networking event we'll see Catherine at, but you're also very connected in the executive and the business community downtown. And I think maybe I'll get you to tell you a bit about your background, but you're also in some nonprofits as well, right? So do you mind giving us the little Catherine Brownlee bio there? Would sure appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. I don't. Well, I'm an old farmer. That's actually how it all started. My dad was my mentor and definitely somebody I always looked up to. That's actually where I ended up getting any of my business development or networking skills, because he was a natural and he loved people. So I didn't have very far to look to be able to be learning, and him teaching me. So that was a great start. And then I was in oil and gas sales for 10 years. I started a oil and gas search firm in 1998. And then I pivoted that 6 or 7 years ago into many different industries. So we've placed people all around the world in many different types of industries, except for government. Anything that requires an RFP, I won't be participating, but everything else, yes. And then fortunately, I've recently joined a global firm called Anderson. And it's a great team. We're in 160 countries. They're tax experts and very good at all the complex cross-border issues or situations that people might find themselves in. And my role is the fun part. I get to work with the tax specialists and all of the great things that they do, and come alongside and support and help with LinkedIn strategies and networking opportunities and how to get there around the room, and all those wonderful opportunities to support and hopefully mentor and help wherever I might be needed. So that's basically it. That's me.
I thought you were going to say the fun part of getting to do taxes, but that's not what you're there for.
No. We get them to do the taxes part. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Good. Well, they definitely got the right person to network. And I think, some of your, I bit on your bio, you have like 85,000 people in your contact list, right? So you are, and I think that's one of the first things we got to know you by is really, you did a lot of mentoring with people, really, to how to connect and build that contact base there. And you said it started on the farm. So you're an Alberta girl then.
I am. Yeah. Born and raised in the Spruce View Sundre area. That's where I went to school.
And what makes Alberta people good at farmers good at that sort of thing?
Well, I think farmers are very resourceful and very collaborative. I think they have to be, especially where it's -40 or when there's a very short time frame to get the grain off of the field or the hay,
Mhm.
whatever we're working with, and harvest time, and everybody decides to support each other to ensure that everybody's getting off the fields and everything gets in the bins where that needs to be. So right from the very beginning, everybody understands that we're in it together. And I think that that attitude permeates throughout our province and certainly into other areas of Canada as well, certainly the prairie provinces. I think wherever farmers are, I think
Mhm.
that's a really great place to start. And it's kind of people I like to do business with.
Yeah, I'd agree. That bit of that entrepreneurial, work hard, play
Mhm.
hard, and be fair type attitude is really not Alberta attitude, right? So
For
yeah,
sure.
so definitely exemplify that. And then you actually did not start out. You started out more in business development and that sort of it. Is there a natural? Was it a natural transition from business development into more the career side of things?
Yeah, fortunately, well, I had lots of mentors throughout the way. I mean, no one ever gets anywhere without everyone. That was a saying that my dad used to say. Absolutely love it, and it's true. So throughout the years, I always had mentors that would help me and teach me different ways or better ways to be and show up and be organized and do what you say you're going to do and how to follow up properly. And all those important things were the backbone. And there's just some key mentors, dad, of course, being one, but Tim Fessick was one of my first mentors from the food industry, actually, it was food services. And then the oil and gas industry, the training there was really just how to network effectively and quickly and follow up, and then really just to react as fast as possible because things were moving so fast. We literally every job I had in oil and gas sales, I was given a desk and a phone and go to it.
And it's such a crazy industry because it's either going crazy fast, flat out, or stops, right?
Yeah.
So you've seen a few ups and downs in the oil and gas industry.
Several, yeah. No, it's been great.
Yeah.
And then because I was a sales rep and,
Yeah.
I'd moved around quite a bit because, it was always the company's fault, not mine. As if
Of course.
anyway, once I realized it was my fault, then, oh, there you go. Anyway, but I moved around a lot, and during that time, my network exploded in oil and gas. And
Mm,
because I'd be in one engineer's office, he or she
mhm,
would be saying how unhappy they were, and I'd be in the next engineer's office, and they're screaming for people. I
mm.
started making introductions happen as a sales rep. So when I was finished doing that, in fact, lost my shirt on Dynafrac Well Services. It was every dime I had. And I thought, that's it. I'm done with oil and gas. So I started researching all the different careers that I could consider. I was interested in going back to get a degree, but only in something like cultural anthropology or something, because I'm always fascinated by people.
It wasn't
So
tax. You didn't go back. You didn't want to go back for tax?
no, no, you don't want to
Accounting?
know my accounting dirty, Mark. No. No.
Uh,
So no,
well,
I just investigated, and at the time there was a really great mentor, ended up
mhm.
being a mentor with O'Callaghan Honey, Michael Honey, and he helped me do what I needed to do to get started. And it's because of him that I figured out what to do early. I didn't have to work out. I mean, so there was a lot of mistakes I made after, but it was because of Michael Honey that helped me right from the very beginning. He's an amazing human.
That's interesting. So you didn't, you always encourage people to pivot, right? But at the time, you didn't actually realize you were learning the skills. Those skills would become your career after. So,
Had no idea.
so you've definitely lived some of the advice you give then.
Yeah, by accident mostly, but
So I have to, I better your slogan. I'm not sure if it's on your website or on your LinkedIn is Headhunter, Unicorn, Wrangler, Bird Dog, and Bridge Builder.
yeah.
Exactly what does that mean?
Though they're all different nicknames that clients or associates have given me over the years.
Ah, I see.
So the bird dog is really just watching for all opportunities for the clients and friends. I'm constantly
Mhm.
on the lookout for the people that I care about and the organizations that I care about, and what this might help you. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
So it's bird dogging, watching for opportunities. And then the unicorn wrangler is somebody that finds a unicorn,
Mhm.
literally. Like, yeah, I've got
And
a good and
so you
bad
have a,
reputation,
I was
but
gonna say is So you had any ones that you can talk about? Some of these unicorn
Yeah.
wrangling that you've done?
For sure, yeah. There was a file that is top of mind, and he'll tell you it too. His name is Paul, and he had been looking for a specific type of candidate, had to be in the Netherlands, had to be an engineer,
Oh,
had to
wow.
be business development, had to have some of this specific experience. And he
Yeah.
told me that, we've been looking for 6 years. I'm not sure you'll find him, but if you do, send him my way. And I found him in 4 days.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
But that is not the norm. That is definitely not the norm.
Well, you know what? If you're starting with 85,000 people in your contacts, at least you have
It
a better
helps.
start.
It helps.
Yeah. Good. Well, okay. So anybody who listening in wants a unicorn, you are the person to talk to.
The unicorn wrangler, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about your book. So you started out, your first book was 2007. And it was Want to Work in the Oil and Gas Industry, which is an interesting title because there's a part of the last 6 or 7 years that would be not something anyone would want to do, but it's come around again. But what prompted you to, and you wrote, just acknowledge, you wrote that with your co-author was Heather Johnson.
Yeah.
So what prompted writing that book? And that was your first book. What got you into being an author?
Well, I'm not an author, to tell you the truth.
No.
I've had a lot of help, so I don't even say I'm an author. So Heather Johnson is just a special human, and we clicked really well at the time. We were teaching a lot of the different courses and what ended up being modules, and then, of course, a manuscript. We thought it would just be a long newsletter of different pieces that we would promote, because what happened was that Heather was changing and not going to do career work anymore. So she wanted to quit. And I said, well, let's not do that yet. Let's capture this information that we've been teaching and put it ended up being a manuscript. So a year later, we had a great team. We had an amazing writer to help us pull it all together. We had an amazing graphic design person. There were so many wonderful people that just came into our path at the exact right time. And that book was bestseller locally here. And of course, that was pre social media. So we had, as soon as LinkedIn became a thing, we knew we had to do something and add those pieces, because the Want to Work in Oil and Gas didn't have any of the internet stuff. So we added what I think is the most important part is social media and LinkedIn specifically. So we added those strategies.
Your second book was adding that elements of it.
Yeah, that's right. That's the biggest
and it was, so 10 years later, but so much changed, because now when you wrote your first one and things were booming, right? It's you want to work in the oil and gas industry, and the employers were saying, we need someone to work in the oil and gas industry. 2017 wasn't like that at all.
No.
Right? So there's more than just social media. It changed completely the way people look for work, I imagine, too. 2017, it could have been, it might have been at the worst of times, because after that, people started accepting some of those jobs may not be there, but it was pretty tough times then. So what did you change in your advice from when things are booming to 2017?
Yeah, online strategies. Well, prior to internet, of course, it was a lot of face-to-face networking, literally dropping off your resume, how to get their attention in person, how to be in their office to get their attention. All those things were very much in person, and everything changed once LinkedIn happened. So fortunately for us, I think it's awesome. And it also supports the people that are more naturally introverted, because having that option to be able to find what's available to them online without having to be in people's offices all the time or being out networking all the time, it's equity for all. It allows people to really start at the same place and find the opportunities that are out there. So LinkedIn for sure was number one, and how to navigate LinkedIn. So that's a really big piece. And then some of the other things that changed were simple things like a handshake. There was an opportunity at one point where I always, of course, I'm an old oil and gas person, my old farmer. So it used to be web to web, and you had to show how strong you were. And that was actually the one major change in the next book. Is there was so much feedback, because I had met so many other people with the bad handshake that I was giving. So instead, I did a whole chapter on mirroring and how to meet somebody right where they are instead of trying to change them
Mm,
or trying to overpower them in any way or think that you're smarter or better. In fact, how you get the job is how to listen more, how to ask more questions, meet them right where they are, listen and ask lots and lots of questions.
So there's a bit of a path though, I see, because the first one would have been very Calgary, Alberta centric. And then your next book was really how to get job of your dreams, which is like
Anyway.
anywhere, any job, anywhere. And there's so many people going through transition. It does
Mhm.
sound like the third part, there's almost a more cultural aspect to it, right? So
You're
that
right.
is a bit of a journey that you went through on your book writing. So each one of these, so your third book is actually, just to go back and do some acknowledgements, your second book was Cat's tips on getting the job of your dreams, and Leanne Angerman and Karen Cunningham helped you with that one, right?
Yeah, thank goodness. Yeah,
It's always great to be surrounded by good people. So
for sure.
and your third one is so the title is actually How to Sell in Any Economy, which you did with Lee Castles and Stan Peak. So you brought the personal. So what is the sell part that you brought to that third book then? Is it more
That's
on the
awesome. So
Yeah.
first I'll say I was drug kicking and screaming to that one.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
so Stan Peak is a very close friend of mine and my business coach, performance coach, and
Mhm.
he knows how I think, and I've been trained by him too. So a lot of the changes that were even made in the second book were as his mentorship as well. So
Mhm.
then, of course, getting to know each other so well and really having a lot of the exact same way in how we approach things, how we sell, how we maybe influence a decision, etc. All those things, or even how to build a relationship. We feel the exact same way. So a lot of the the business or the words that were written in the How to Sell in Any Economy, much of was Stan and Lee, and much of my second book, our second book, was literally copied and pasted into the third book.
Mhm.
So because it's the exact same process, it's the same
Mhm.
how to look for a job or how to get the job of your dreams is the exact same as how to sell to a high net worth individual. It's the exact same process.
Mhm. So what pieces of the selling to an individual would mirror again to selling so then you're selling a product or a service, right?
Yeah.
Um and what are the key points that you guys explore in
Yeah.
that then?
Most important is meet them where they are. First,
Mhm.
know who's your client, who is your potential employer,
Mhm.
where are they? What are they doing in the world of work? What are they doing in the world of play? What charities are they involved in? What boards are they sitting on? This is where LinkedIn and the internet it is extremely helpful. The
Mhm.
people that we want to get closer to, there's ways to serve and support them so that we are not selling.
Mhm.
Selling is dead. We are that is the old sales 101 that we'd all
Yeah.
took at Xerox, whatever many years ago. Those tactics are gone. A relationship must be built first. We must be able to provide value to another person before they will trust us enough with the information that they would feel like sharing that would hopefully then be a match for either you as a potential employee or a potential service provider.
Mm. So selling in the title is a bit of a misnomer. It's how
And you
not to
and
sell it. It's how not to sell in any economy.
yeah, well, the old traditional
Yeah.
word sale is not
Yeah.
taught in that book at all.
Well, you guys must have had some fun. I have to tell a little Kathleen Brownlee's Stan Peak story, because when we first started Resource YYC back in our old location, you came in to do I think it was a little LinkedIn, just a lunch and learn on LinkedIn at the time. And Stan was, from what I assume, was going to just sit in and listen to you. And by the end of that session, we're looking in the room and like you guys were somehow doing it. And I said, how in the world did that happen? So I don't know how well you knew each other before that, but I vividly remember Stan sitting in the back, and by the end, you guys were up together. So
Yeah.
and it looked like you're having a blast. So it sounds like that relationship's carried on.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, forever. No, he's amazing. And that was the beginning of us working together, is
Yeah.
that day.
And I just that is one of the things, and it ties back that whole networking, building relationships. And it's one of the things that we value here, Resource YYC. And one of the reasons we miss face-to-face so much is because COVID hasn't been there, but you never know who you might bump into that is important
Mhm.
relationship, right?
So true. Never know.
My advice is don't discount the people you meet along the way, because you might be dependent on, especially in a place like Calgary, that's 1 or 2 degrees of separation, right?
You are
So,
right.
anyways, it's kind of been it's been exciting for me. Well, you've had an incredible journey, but just to watch how you guys have worked together as well. So, and so that book there was a bit of a success. I think you were like #1 in the universe, right? When you went on Amazon or
Well, thanks to Stan. I actually was a little too scared and quite intimidated by having an international bestseller. So,
yeah,
but I trusted him and I did all the things that he suggested. And in fact, he'd already gone all through the research. He had the steps to follow, and we did exactly what he told us to do. And we are
yeah,
bestseller in 3 categories for several days.
that's excellent. Good.
Yeah,
Well, and it's nice to add some recognition for the hard work you put into your book as well. So, and
thanks.
now before I forget, because now we've talked about your books, they're available online, right? Through, or now I shouldn't say your old ones. Do you now not publish your old ones? Or are they still available? Have
Oh
they been
yeah, no,
replaced?
it's still a bit.
Yeah,
I actually only have 2 or 3 in
yeah,
printed, and somebody
yeah,
is certainly welcome to them. And then there's a free download on our website. They can certainly download at any time. The majority of that book is copy and pasted into the second book,
yeah,
except for some of the changes, obviously, like the handshake and some of the other
yeah.
ways that to approach people.
Mhm.
But then the second book is also available by PDF for anybody who wants it. They can certainly send me an email and I can send it. It's also available through Amazon, but you have to pay for that through that one.
Yeah, great. Well, you never know. I mean, I think it's a great reference tool for people. So, and some would reinforce kind of stuff we talked about. I think, it sounds like a bit of, especially this last one's a bit more of a reference guide, like keep it with you and always refer
Oh,
back
yeah.
to it.
And that
Yeah,
one's available on Amazon.
Amazon. Perfect. And so if you could go back to your original career, because a lot of people are in business development and sales, if you could go back, is there any big learnings that you go, oh man, I wish I would have done that different now that I've wrote
Oh,
the book on how to do it right?
a million of them. Gosh, a million of them. I had a lot of ego. I was pretty good at sales, so
Yeah.
there's a few times I couldn't get my head through the door.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't sell as much anymore?
Life has a way of reckoning that attitude, and it did, and I was humbled by it, and then I did a lot of, going back and apologizing for all my behaviors, and so there was a lot of cleanup to do, but man, I have solid relationships with ones I did have to do that with, and they forgave me.
You
So
know what?
that's
That's really good advice, because I think people live with some things forever, not realizing that sometimes just going back and chatting with people and reconciling some of that is huge, right? So
yeah,
good on
exactly.
you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So do you got other books? What do you and Stan? You got some other ones lined up?
No, no, that's
It's
it.
it's
No.
it's the next one is how to sell in the metaverse, I imagine,
Yeah,
right?
no, no,
You're not gonna
no,
go virtual.
no, I'm good. I was good after the second one. I only did it because I felt there's way too much change. I can't keep saying to the people that, you've got this book, but it's no longer relevant.
So what
So
about people who want to write a book? Any recommendations on
yes,
the whole
lots.
process?
Lots, yeah. Do your homework first.
Yeah,
If you do want a bestseller, send me an email and I'll tell you exactly what to do.
yeah.
It's actually a lot easier than you think, but there's a lot of steps to follow that must be followed, and then anybody can do it.
Hmm, that's great. So,
Mhm.
well, appreciate that. Because the one thing, and it would be no different than you, is in ways writing a book is a bit of your resume and gives you credibility for some of the stuff you do day to day, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, you might get someone listening to the podcast, you might be getting some emails on how to write a bestseller.
Oh, yeah. Happy to help anybody who's interested, for sure.
Perfect. Good. And what about just maybe where things are at? So we talked when you started this, things were booming. You went through all of us in Calgary, and definitely energy industry went through that deep, long period where things were slow. And it's now all of a sudden booming again. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's some falseness to the booming because of our current situation in Alberta and Canada with our government and the
Mhm.
amount of deficit that we're all going to face. I think there's going to be a lot more heartache the last 2 years, even prior to the 2 years, of course, with the downturn that we had and the amount of people that were out of jobs, and then the lockdown happened. And in my world alone, I lost 9 people to death by suicide.
Oh my
So
goodness.
you can imagine the
Mhm.
impact of people in their lives
Yeah.
and how devastating it's been. So yes, things are certainly feels like it's turning around, but in my opinion, I think we need to do something about our government before we can actually feel it. That said, the last 6 months for search has been the best it's been since 1999.
Wow.
So we have more search files than we've had since that time. Now, of course, back then it was just oil and gas files. The majority of the work that we have now is not oil and gas, but it's a lot of other things like ag tech and,
Mhm.
well, tech, period, medical, health, wellness, of course, tax, accountants, lawyers. It's a very busy time in search.
So
So
there's a bit of a,
usually,
yeah.
pardon me?
Also good. I was gonna say some of that speaks to a bit of a transition. So all the time we talk about transition, but it sounds like you're actually seeing other industries actually. Um,
Other industries, sure. Yeah, for sure. And of course, only two in oil and gas in the last six
yeah.
months. So
Hmm.
usually the search firms are the pulse of what's about to come. And when things start to go crazy and the businesses are not going to do well, search is the ones that gets hit first. So when the lockdown happened, all search files were closed immediately. After
Mhm.
9/11, the exact same thing. Now that things are picking up, I feel confident to be able to say that things are getting better. We just have to be able to incentivize so that we can make sure that we've got new capital coming into Alberta and Canada.
And what about is this partly to do with the great resignation that's happening, or what does that
That is
mean
it. That
for
hasn't
us?
even actually hit Calgary in the
Yeah,
way that it has around the world. It will. It's
yeah.
coming for sure. And it is starting to move, but not like it has in other places. And that is a very real situation. The resignation is coming for sure here too.
Mm. So that's just there's going to be a lot of churn. It sounds like
Lots of
in
churn.
in career and in industry around people, right? So
Lots of churn. Yeah.
yeah, and is that I mean, I guess it's a good thing for search firms. What does that mean to the average person?
Well, I actually think it in overall, it will hurt the fabric of the community initially because all that change is very
Mhm.
difficult for people. It creates a level of stress.
Yeah.
However, I do believe that I'm hoping what I've been seeing is that a lot of people that are making these moves are being very purposeful about what it is that they're trying to create for their next
Mhm.
role. So when they're doing that, even though the change is great for the next 3 to 6 months, after that, I'm hopeful that that'll change the vibration to happy because there's so many people that are unhappy and they've been working really hard past capacity. The company or firm that they're with, they're not justifying bringing on anybody else, so they're working them like crazy. So all those things are very real, and of course that's unhappy. In
Yeah.
6 months to a year, I'm hoping that that will create change the vibration.
Oh, good. And so Calgary, Calgary's been hit worse than most places because there's so many people that have been out of work, out of their chosen career for so many years. Is there, do you think now there's some light on the horizon for people to get back, or kind of once people have been out of the oil and gas industry for a while, it's tougher to get back in?
Well, I think the oil and gas industry is changed, but I
Mhm.
think that there's certainly more jobs out there. I'm starting to see geologists and geophysicists
Mhm.
files. That I've not seen that in years and years.
Mm.
So it's certainly starting to change, and I'm hopeful. I actually spoke to a mover and a shaker this afternoon who actually helped build one of the original capital companies years ago, and he is confident that the next 10 years is going to be some of the best
Good.
that oil and gas has seen, or Calgary has seen in oil and gas.
That's good, because there's definitely those specialty careers that took the hit. They weren't as transferable, right? So,
Mhm,
so some good news.
exactly.
And good news, and then probably a little more wisdom going into careers now, watching this industry go up and down, right? So
Agreed.
yeah, good. Well, you know what? We try to keep this about a half an hour.
Awesome.
And this half an hour has gone really quick. Is there anything, a lot of people tune in, just get some great words of advice. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you might want to share with anybody listening in, especially on their career?
Yes, there's one saying that I always say that my dad said when he was alive, and it's for anybody who's struggling or anybody who's feeling frustrated in the situation that they're in. Go as far as you can see, and then you'll see further.
No.
And I always have the last slide, as you know, Ron, with anything that I'm presenting. Say yes to everything that is legal and moral for the next 6 months. What is meant for you is walking your way. Say yes, and it will come.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And it's so true, right? Whatever's over the horizon, you don't see till you're over the horizon. So good
Correct.
advice.
Correct.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. We're going
Thanks.
to wrap it up, and then for anyone who's tuned in live, we'll have some time for a little Q&A. And Rosemary, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thanks again, Catherine.
Thank you.
Yep, that was a great conversation. Thank you both. And we'll be posting this, and I will add in your LinkedIn so anybody can check you out if they just look in the description. So
Thanks, Rosemary.
have a great day.
You
Thanks
too.
again.